from my understanding, it's not like super well understood at this point, right? Like we know how foods impact and stuff, but it's still, there's a lot, like we got a ways to go on this before we really understand how it impacts things, right? And so when you have, Timmy the trainer telling you that, he knows all about the microbiome, it's like, well,
right.
Maybe not Timmy. Hello, and welcome to Middleish, the podcast about moderation in all things. I am Michael Gray.
And I am Erin Green.
How are you, Erin Green?
I am doing great.
Doing dandy?
Yeah, it's windy and gray here, so typical winter weather, but I'm doing all right.
I heard it's crazy windy up there.
Yeah, we're having gusts 40 to 50 miles per hour, and there's a front moving through, so it's one of those and something I didn't realize, I did realize this, but I just was reminded again this morning, is when we have a lot of wind, the wind comes down our chimney and blows out the ash in our fireplace. So I wake up
That's fun.
I know, I wake up to ash scattered all over our living room floors. So
yay.
I need to remember to maybe close the damper or something when we know there's a windstorm coming.
Well, it's 66 and sunny here, so we're not having a good time either.
Shut up. I know. I saw your video the other day of Lila out there running around in her little cart or her Jeep or whatever.
Sister's little Barbie Jeep.
Oh my gosh. And I'm like, the video is cute, of course. And the fact that she was supposed to be out, riding her bike or whatever. But then just the weather, I was like, oh, man, you guys, it's so far removed from where we are.
Yeah. We'll pay for it here in a few months. We gotta pay our penance for nice winter weather, but it's enjoyable when you're in it. Yep. Try not to think about the humidity that's coming because it's coming.
Yeah.
But right now it's great. Yeah.
Good deal.
So, anything new?
Not
anything
exactly.
exciting?
No. Plugging along with work, and Matt and I went out of town this weekend. We just went up to McCall to be, I need to have some kind of winter vibrance, I guess, not just the gray, brown, dull crud that we get here in the Treasure Valley, but that's why I will drive up the mountain and go ski a lot, or, things just look so different when they're covered in snow and it's bright and sunny.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to go do this ski race in McCall, which, I do almost every year. And I haven't seen hardly any of my ski friends just because of, COVID, and I'm not carpooling with anyone, and, there's hardly any races or anything. So I dragged Matt along. He's not a winter person. I'm pretty sure I say this every week on the podcast. My husband is not a winter person, but we went up there and we just rented a little condo and, just got takeout food and just did our own thing. So we kept to our little bubble, and it was lovely. It was beautiful. Nice. And bluebird, and, McCall has the lake freezes this time of year. And so it's just this, snow field, right out the window. That's gorgeous. So it was nice. It was just something a little different. And we've been, home, like a lot of our listeners, I'm sure. We've just been home and around home for so long that it was just nice to have drive a couple hours, see some different scenery, so.
Right. Yeah. McCall's gorgeous. McCall's gorgeous kind of any time of year. It's just always pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. McCall, Idaho, for those of you who aren't familiar with, little town up in the mountains, about an hour and 30 minutes away from Boise.
It actually takes a little over 2 hours. Well, and especially this time of year, in the
from
winter,
Boise?
you've,
Really?
Yeah. How fast do you drive on that road?
I was going to say, how slow do you drive?
We saw, and this was the coolest part, we saw 5 bald eagles on the way just outside of Boise. So that we have these, they love hanging out in the big dead trees that are just stacked along the river there. And as we were leaving, after work on Friday. So it was like, I don't know, 5:36 when we were driving along the river, and it was just the sun's kind of just going down. And I mean, it was like left and right. You could just, oh, there's another one. There's another one. They're just perched up on these big dead trees looking for dinner. And they're just so magnificent. And
Yeah.
I don't know, if you're lucky enough to have bald eagles anywhere around where you are, but
Not
probably
that I
not.
know of. I don't
Not a
know.
lot of like rivers and mountainous areas in their terrain. But anyway, that was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
no, there's a lot down here, just not right here in the city. But I don't know if this is the climate for them.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know bald eagle climate off the top of my head. I should. I'm kind of
Yeah.
embarrassed that I don't. I mean,
Yeah. Geez.
what kind of
Get with the
American
program.
doesn't know bald eagle climate?
No kidding.
Yeah. Well, you want to dive in?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right.
What's our topic today, Michael?
Uh, Gut health, not butt health. Gut
Although they are
health.
connected.
They are, but a little bit different. So,
Healthy.
gut
Yeah.
with a G, not butt with a B. Today we're talking about butt health.
I think it's funny that
Healthy
never
booty.
even that. Oh my gosh, I have a funny story that I have to tell you real quick before we get started.
About a healthy booty.
Kind of.
All right. I'm
So
all ears.
I did some video work for Dairy West. It's one of my partners here in Boise because we have a large dairy industry in Idaho. And so when I was racing professionally, I did some, work for them over the years. And one of my races took me to Taiwan,
Mhm.
and we didn't realize that Taiwan was a major importer of Idaho dairy. So, they don't have a dairy industry over there, but there's a lot of dairy consumption. And so I raced in Taiwan. I met I can't remember what his position is, but he's basically like the liaison between like the Taiwan, agricultural industry over there, and Idaho, Dairy West. So we're doing this video with one of his researchers who is like just super smart. And you can tell just has that scientific, like he's very passionate about what he knows scientifically about dairy products and some of the products that they're developing with dairy. And he was trying to say bone health, and it kept coming out as bung health. And I'm not like, the first time Matt and I heard it, we kind of just look at each other and we're like, bung? Did he say bung? And he's like, bone health. And so he was really trying to get, but the language is just, it's difficult to enunciate the same kinds of sounds. But we kept going through this video and I would reiterate like, oh, bone health, to try and tie it together. But we kept hearing bung health.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was like, we can't post a video where it sounds like we're talking about bung health the whole time.
Why not?
So,
I feel like
I
that's
guess we
more of a
could
reason to
because
post
there's
it.
some interest there. But yeah, so your little word smithing there kind of reminded me of like, all it takes is just, that enunciation that.
Yeah, just wishful thinking over here.
So yes, we are talking about gut health. So
Gut health.
Gut health. So your stomach, your digestive tract, colon, small intestine, the whole thing. And the reason this topic came up is, Michael and I always like to talk about fad diets and trends and maybe, kind of sift through some of the science and the evidence that people are asking about, well, what about this and what about that? And gut health is this very trendy topic. Chances are a lot of you have heard about probiotics or maybe taking one. We've probably heard about your gut microbiome and the gut bacteria and all of this other stuff. And probably even finding food products that have some of these things, on the label, like, oh, eat this because it's good for your gut. And what does that even mean? So we're going to go through today and just talk about some of the terms and we'll get into some of the science, but not too deep. Really, we just want to help people better understand this topic and maybe make some informed decisions and maybe even incentivize you to take a little better care of your little gut microbiome.
Your gut.
Your gut.
Not
with
taking
a G.
better care of your butt.
Although that's important too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that is an interesting thing about like the microbiome and your gut health is that, like you said, Aaron, just that it's just become this, there's like this knowledge and this research and education and understanding how a part of the body works. And someone somewhere goes like, ooh, hey, let's make this a new thing that we can
Yeah.
capitalize on. And it's just weird how this just like fascinating, wonderful, function of the body has become, it's like charlatans going
Sort of
like,
gets bastardized like everything else in the health
yeah,
industry.
and
Where
just
all of a
it's like its
sudden,
own like weird fad diet now,
Mhm.
but I think it's important to know that there's a lot, I think, that we don't know about this yet, a lot we don't understand and that kind of stuff. And so if you see someone, if you hear a nutritionist or trainer or nutrition coach or whatever, who is really talking like they understand this really well and kind of have the answer to a lot of this, they probably don't, right? It's kind of like most things with sort of charlatans and social media
Yeah.
influencers and that kind of stuff. If you're going to say something is the answer or that you have the answer, you got to understand it really well, right? And so there's just be cautious when you're hearing people when they start to talk about the microbiome and that kind of stuff, that there's a really good chance that they may not understand this fully because it's just not really understood fully yet.
Right.
So just
Right.
the
And
caution thrown
especially
out there.
yep. And I totally agree. And especially if those people are trying to sell a product, specifically their product that's going to magically cure a bunch of things, or if it's purported to be kind of a Windex solution. To reference my big fat Greek wedding, the guy sprayed Windex on everything to like on his arm or whatever when it was. Do
Yeah.
you remember that?
I never
Anyway,
saw it.
so yeah, if people think that it's like the catch-all
Right.
or the cure-all, beware of that.
Panacea. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's just define real quick a couple things. So the gut microbiome is a collection of bacteria, mostly bacteria, but also includes viruses, yeast, protozoa, parasites, and fungi that live in the digestive tract. And there's estimated to be 100 trillion little microbes in your digestive tract, which I mean, to me is just mind boggling. And
Yeah.
understand that these little cells are independent. They're not human cells. These are bacteria, yeast, fungi, viruses, so they are their own little
Mhm.
being in
It's
your
our own
gut.
little symbiotic relationship.
Right. And
Yeah.
we're the host. So we're just
Mhm.
carrying them around with us. And they outnumber human cells 10 times.
Yeah.
So really, so the way I wrap my head around this is I picture minions,
Mhm.
like all the little like trillions of minions down there that are really calling the shots. I think that I'm in control of my body and my thoughts and what's going on. And really there's all of these other little beings down there that are doing most of the work. So it's pretty crazy when you think of things like that. And did you know that the gut surface area is between 30 and 40 square meters?
I did not until I just read that a little bit ago, which is quite large.
Well, and obviously it's from some, European researchers that came up with this. I know that there's probably a, um, more American comparison here, but one of the studies I found with these Scandinavian researchers said that it's about the size of half a badminton court. So I guess somebody else had claimed that it was the size of a tennis lawn, but it's half a
Oh,
badminton court.
a tennis lawn.
So if you've ever been on a badminton court, you might know how
Yeah.
big your surface area is in your gut.
So
Um,
doing quick math here, that's 40 square meters would be 131 square feet.
that's a
So
lot.
yeah, that's a lot of square feet. It's
Yeah.
big.
And it's all wrapped up in your body. It's
Mhm.
pretty crazy.
It's wild, man. It's
And
a
that's why you
scene.
have so many trillions little party animals down there,
Party animals.
doing their business. And did you know that about 35 to 50% of the contents of your colon, we think of the colon as the last transit before you have a bowel movement. And so we think of that as just, oh, it's like food waste and some byproducts, but actually almost half of that could be the gut microbiota, like some bacteria and maybe even like shedding of bacterial waste. So it's
Yeah.
pretty crazy too.
Yeah.
So
So you want to keep
what
going with
else?
terms?
Yeah, sure. Let's just buzz through a few of these
Okay.
because I think then it'll help with our discussion.
Sure.
So I want to distinguish between probiotics and prebiotics real quick because most people understand, at least on the very basic level, what a probiotic is
Or
because
I've
we've
heard
heard
of
that
them at
term so
least.
much.
But well, I
So
wonder if most people do. I wonder if it's more kind of like gluten, where it's like, oh
fair.
yeah, I know about gluten. Well, what is it? A
Or
diet,
GMOs.
right?
Right.
I
Right.
think most people have heard of them for sure. Probiotics, maybe not prebiotics as much, but yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. So probiotics are the little minions, the little
Mhm.
friendly bacteria. Okay. So they're the beneficial little microorganisms that contribute to health. And when people think of probiotics, I think they picture, taking a tablet or something that has probiotics in
Mhm.
it, which you can do now. I mean, the science is there.
Mhm.
And we've learned a lot about probiotics over the, 12 years that I've been a dietitian. So it's a lot more reliable. And another term you might see on a probiotic label is a CFU, which is you kind of barked at me before we started
I
recording.
didn't
So I'll
bark at
let you
you. I just said I
a
know
little
some
bit.
things. Sometimes Erin thinks I'm just a dumb trainer. She's like, now,
Not true.
carbohydrates. Let me tell you about carbohydrates. Do you know the word carbohydrates? No.
Oh, I
So,
know you know carbs.
what's that supposed to mean, huh? No. So CFUs are colony forming units, which are it's just a way of saying this is how many of the thing is in here. So it's like a measurement tool, and in theory, the more CFUs you have, the better benefit you're going to have from a probiotic because it's introducing more of these little minions into your body, creating a healthier gut and a healthier microbiome.
Right.
Did I sound
And
smart enough?
yeah, you nailed that one.
Thanks for
Um,
rehearsing with that with me
Good
before the.
job. Yeah. It's a good thing that I coached you through that before we started recording.
Sound like an
So
idiot.
the kind of the threshold to look for a CFU, if you're going to go into that realm of buying and taking a probiotic, would be 1 billion CFUs. And there are plenty of reputable brands out there, and there's research, and there's, depending on what you're trying to accomplish
Mhm.
with symptom management, I would say talk with your doctor or a GI specialist or somebody who really knows their stuff with probiotics. Um, Chances are you're not going to cause any harm to yourself by taking a reputable brand of probiotic.
Right.
But one of the most controversial things about taking these in like a tablet form is they have to go through your stomach, which is a really hostile environment for for any kind of living microbe because it's very acidic and there's all kinds of like enzymes and things going on in there. And so your body is more colonized deeper in your digestive tract. Your small intestine holds the most of your microbiota. So the chances of you getting those little bacteria from the probiotic through that really hostile stomach environment and into that small intestine is, I mean, there's a chance that you won't colonize hardly anything from
Mm.
that,
Yeah.
depending on how your body accepts that. So just something to keep in mind, when people talk about probiotics. And they're in foods. So fermentation is another thing that I wanted to mention here because we hear about fermentation, when it talks to like, we hear about bread or beer or like, pickles or whatever,
Kimchi,
kimchi,
sauerkraut. Yeah.
yogurt. So basically, you're just introducing friendly bacteria into a food product, and then that bacteria feeds on the starch and breaks it down into lactic acid, which is why you get the kind of the tangy flavor in kimchi or sauerkraut or yogurt or something like that. Um, this is important because then let's talk a little bit about how these minions survive in your tract. They need to eat. And
What do they eat, Aaron?
this is a term that a lot of people don't, we just threw out prebiotics earlier.
Yeah.
That's what the probiotics eat. So these little bacteria need prebiotics to live on. And guess what? Prebiotics are carbohydrates.
Oh, we did that in unison. We didn't even practice that. I hope that comes through in our recording like perfectly in unison, because that was pretty great. It's like we're like 3, 2, 1, go.
I know. Yeah, we didn't even have anybody cueing us. That was great. See how well we work together.
Sync. Yeah.
So prebiotics, carbohydrates that are really not digestible by the human, what do I want to say? The GI tract, the human digestive system cannot break down these fibers and carbohydrates, but the little minions down there can. And whenever I hear people like sing the praises of low carb diets, I'm just like, fiber is a carbohydrate. Like, stop, because
Pretty
we
important one.
we need these different fibers, and there's so many different kinds, and we'll kind of talk a little bit about that later.
Right.
But those are kind of your terms to know as we talk through some of our other points here.
Yeah. Do you remember when you first heard, or I don't know, maybe you don't, but when you first heard that yogurt like had live cultures in it? Do you remember when you like as a kid learning that?
I don't think I really learned it as a kid because I didn't eat yogurt as a kid. Like that was just something that wasn't in our household. But I do remember learning it. I just don't remember when. Were you grossed out?
Yeah. I was like, what? Are you kidding? Like there's live stuff in here, like living things. Like
I'm eating bugs.
Yeah, kind of. That's what I thought, like little microscopic bugs or something. And I remember, I don't know, I was probably like maybe 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there. I remember like taking it because we used to get those, not often, but we used to get like the little Yoplait things,
Oh,
like
yeah.
strawberry kiwi and key lime pie and stuff. And I remember I loved them. And we didn't get them often, so it kind of felt like a treat. And I remember after like learning that, like taking a spoonful and like looking at it, like, where are they? Can I see them?
I know.
Like, I don't know if I'm going to be doing this anymore.
Yeah, I could see how that would be. I don't know, though. Some kids would probably really enjoy the idea of eating
maybe
bugs. Like some kids kind of get off on that, like grossed out, like, ew.
This is true.
I'm going to eat it.
This is true. I was just more interested in eating boogers than bugs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't.
You're not going to tell me you never ate your boogers, are you? Come
on. I don't remember it, but I'm sure it happened because
I don't recall.
I think just about, I know. Isn't that like the cop out that we hear? I don't recall. It's funny how amnesia just like saves you from.
Boy, man, I'm really trying to remember
social faux pas. So why do we want to talk about gut health? Why is it important?
Let's talk about why it's important. So gut health, it can influence a lot of things. It can influence how well you digest food and how well you absorb the nutrients that you eat, which impacts a lot of things. If you're not absorbing nutrients, well, a lot of things are going to suffer. Including just even your energy level, how well your body functions and repairs itself and regenerates cells, and just all this stuff, right? It's good for bowel health. Did I say that right? Bowel health. I think I said bowel health.
As long as it's not bung health, I think we're okay.
Bung.
It is good for bung health, though.
It is. This is true. Oh, so it's good for bowel health. I said that way too quickly. And regularity, which, just having good digestion, regular pooping, that's a good thing, right? This is a symptom of just a healthy body. It can influence your mood, which is fascinating.
That part, yeah, it's
right?
Super fascinating.
Yeah, it can aid in disease prevention, support your immunity, affect your sleep quality, and then just along with just nutrient absorption, that kind of stuff, just how well your skin repairs and heals and looks and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it
So all of
influences a
the
lot of
things,
things.
yeah, totally. And all of the things that I mean, we know that eating a well-balanced diet and taking care of your health and your body contributes to all of those things Michael just listed. But I don't think people necessarily make the connection between the little colony, the
Right.
huge colony really that's that you're carrying around with you, and how the gut microbiome influences all of those things.
Right.
One of the uh, interesting bits on mood is that I was reading that a majority of the serotonin in our bodies actually is housed in the gut and is
Mhm.
produced by some of these little gut bacteria. So you
It's
feed them well,
fascinating. Yeah.
they're gonna, take care of you in that way. It's kind of cool. And I don't think a lot of people necessarily make the connection between eating and exercise and sleep and whatever, and actually how it's influencing this little colony. And then it influences your mood and
Right.
all of these other things.
And it just goes to show, I mean, how we've talked about a bunch, like we can't, we can't worry about like physical health without addressing emotional health or, spiritual health or mental health. And it's same thing with just inside the body, right? Like the things we do affect everything else. It's all of this is so interconnected that, yeah, you can't influence something without influencing everything,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah. And the gut brain is another kind of fascinating,
Mhm.
illustration of what you're saying. Everything's interconnected. Your microbiome, because these are independent organisms. Okay. So remember, these aren't like human cells that are in there signaling and doing things.
Right.
They have their own brain. They have
They're
their
not
own
being
nervous system.
governed by
They,
us.
yeah, they're running the show really. And
Mhm.
so they act independently and they are interrelated with the signaling cascade in your body, but they're doing it on their own accord for survival and
Mhm.
for their own benefit. And so again, that's another reinforcement, like take care of this little gut colony that you have. In we'll give you a whole bunch of different ways that you can do this. So
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you
well, let's
wanna
see,
go
we
on
can
to
talk
just
about
how we do that?
sure.
Or do you have anything else you want to say first?
No, I was gonna point out some of the dietary. Let's talk about
Yeah, let's do
what
that.
you can do to help it first,
Okay.
and then we can talk about like what people do to mess it up.
Screw with it. Yeah. Okay. So I hope you are sitting down and have your seatbelts on because we're about to blow you away with stuff you've never heard before.
It's
So
cutting edge science here.
buckle up because here we go. So here are some ways that you can maintain good gut health and butt health. Ready for number one? I'm
Do
sorry.
it.
It's gonna keep happening.
You're so
It is.
excited. I know.
Yeah. Number one, get enough quality sleep. Bum bum
I know.
bum. Shocker.
Shocking.
Right. Yes, I
Well,
know.
and it's cool to see like some of the research is trying to work the other direction and say like, well, what happens if we change the microbiome? Does it actually influence these healthy behaviors? And we're seeing a correlation there. Now, correlation doesn't mean causation, so you can't say, "Oh, just, grow more of this bacteria in your gut and you're going to sleep better." We don't necessarily
Right.
know that, but we do see that these things are related.
Mhm.
So this one can work both. A lot of these can work both ways actually. So you get enough sleep, it gives your body the right kind of balance it needs to actually like maintain healthy functioning, including your gut health.
Mhm.
But then the opposite is also true. So
Right.
if you improve that gut health, it can help you sleep better.
Right. Number two, stay hydrated. Again, a shocker, right? When our body has like what it needs to function well, our body functions better. Go
Hmm.
figure. Exercise. Or did you want to say something on that?
Nope. Go
Okay.
for it.
Exercise regularly. This improves the diversity and quantity of your gut microflora. Okay, I had to practice that.
I know we have all these different microbiota, microbiome,
I know, right?
microflora. I
Yeah.
know.
So diversity is good. Quantity is good, right? Being active on a regular basis improves both of those things, increases diversity and quantity. So again, so your exercise, movement, being physically active influences that. And then more of that, a better, more diverse and better populated gut is going to make things like being physically active a lot easier, right? Eat nutrient dense foods. Okay, so like we were talking about, some carbohydrates. Now that may be a shocker for some people, but yes, actually, we do want you eating carbohydrates because that fiber is really necessary for that those probiotics to thrive and grow, right? To have a healthy microbiome.
I have a list of different foods that we can talk about when we get into, because I want to wait and talk about some of the, restrictive diets that people engage in that will, kind of flip this on its head. So
that was a teaser, folks. That's what we call a teaser. Foreshadowing. It's coming.
So just roll today, Michael.
I'm punchy. I'm tired. I think that's what it is. So eat nutrient dense foods, right? I mean, you want to be eating things that are high in vitamins and minerals and just have really high quality nutrients to them, which would be things like, your fruits and vegetables and carbohydrates and that kind of stuff. Okay. Making sure you get enough fiber. What is the daily recommended amount of fiber? 20 grams? 30?
Yeah, it's between 20 and 25, depending on, I would say 25 is a really good target for most adults. And get a mix of, there's different kinds of fiber. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, 25 grams. And most people are not getting
I was going to say,
that.
do you know where most people are? Are most people at 15 even?
If you have a nice rounded, like fruits and veggies, nuts, legumes, whole grains, you're probably getting close to that if you're eating those foods regularly. But I see a lot of people fall short if they're, for example, not including whole grains, or they're not big legume eaters, or they're huge meat eaters, and then like the veggies are just kind of an afterthought, and maybe they're there and maybe they're not. That's where I see people falling short on the fiber spectrum. So
how much fiber is in chicken nuggets?
Well, are we talking muscle protein fiber, or are we talking insoluble fiber? Yeah, probably not a lot.
Not a lot.
Even the veggie, like fake chicken nuggets, I don't think really have any. And that's something else that when people are saying, when we talk about eating plant foods and vegetables, there's a distinction between eating like highly processed plant food products, like a veggie chicken nugget, or eating the plants that went into that in as close to their natural form as possible, So, I think that's another thing for people to consider is a lot of our society will look to food products to solve their problems. So they'll look to like Fiber One bars.
Right.
And this isn't like a jam against Fiber One, but it's an example. It's what came to mind. Yeah. Like they'll look at things that have these fiber added to them. And they won't actually look at the source. Like, what can you actually eat to
apple.
Get that? Exactly. Like eat a salad and eat an apple and eat a bowl of oatmeal or whatever. So
yeah. Well, and I think that's a problem with like juicing, right? Is like, yeah, I'm getting my fruits and vegetables. Yeah, but you're losing most, if not all, I don't know if it's all, but it's a lot of the fiber that comes along with it because you're removing all that pulp, and that stuff that the body really needs to thrive. And then managing stress. Okay. Again, it's no surprise that if the body is in a stress state, right, like it just doesn't function well. It can't repair and grow and do all the daily activities, functions that it needs to do as well, because it's in the stress state. And then, as we mentioned earlier, including fermented foods in your diet, like sauerkraut, kimchi, some like pickled foods, that kind of stuff, just to have those naturally occurring probiotics in your belly.
Yep. And the cool thing about having those fermented foods in the diet is you're not just getting the benefit just from the probiotic, the fermentation that has been done. And so you're eating the bacteria, but then you're also getting, I mean, there's still some of that fiber and some of that food product there that is going to benefit the colony that you already have going. And so it's like a double whammy,
Double whammy.
A double whammy for your gut microbiome.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about how people maybe get it wrong. I think when it comes to gut health, one of the things I think we already hit on is, some people will see all of these benefits of having a really healthy gut microbiome. And so they'll kind of get into this mode of thinking, oh, well, I just need healthy gut bacteria and I'll be fine. And so there is some research that's going on and has been conducted on looking at like the gut microbiome of obese subjects, whether they're rats or humans, or the gut microbiome of lean subjects, and how those things interconnect. Like, can you just take the gut bacteria from a lean subject and put it into an obese subject and see a change? And I can't speak too in depth on the literature on that, but there's research being conducted. It's very gray right now. Like, I mean, I think if we had a clear answer on that, you'd probably see people getting like fecal transplants and all kinds of stuff going on to try and, that would be like the new fad diet sort of thing.
Oh man, we're going to have people selling their poop online, aren't we?
Probably already been done, my friend.
Yeah, for a variety of reasons.
That ship has sailed, so you lost your $1 million idea. Wait, that's what you were going to do.
That ship has sailed? Is that what you said?
How many little poop puns can we come up with today?
We're going to find out. We're only about halfway through.
So I think we have to be cautious about thinking that gut health is the magic bullet for everything. Yeah. So we went through, all of these really cool connections with gut health and your, physical health and your mental health. And it's pretty cool to see like how it's influenced. At the same time, all of those things you just listed about maintaining a healthy gut are things that we've been shouting from the rooftops forever.
Right.
So try not to get too derailed into thinking like this is the magic bullet. I just have to like fix my gut health. Right. Sometimes people they'll come to me and say, oh, I have all these digestive problems. Maybe they have or have not been diagnosed with IBS. Maybe they've been diagnosed with some kind of intolerance or allergy, or it's just self-diagnosed. And one of the common things I see is people going on these elimination diets. And it might be just a willy-nilly, I'm just not going to eat this for a while kind of thing. Or it can be a more structured elimination diet. And these elimination diets are not intended to be long-term solutions necessarily. They're intended to suss out some of the culprits of whatever symptoms you're having. Right. So if somebody is having like GI distress and they're having, multiple bouts of diarrhea in a day and they're trying to troubleshoot that and they start eliminating foods, the idea is you'll narrow it down eventually to these are the culprits, but then everything else you tried eliminating, you can maybe gradually add back in, Right. So one of the common ones, and I'm sure some of our listeners have heard of this diet, but some you probably haven't heard of it, is the low FODMAP diet.
Okay, so pop quiz without looking. Can you tell us what FODMAP stands for?
Oh, fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, is it lectin? Oh, I'm going to get this wrong.
M.
Oh, there is
FOD.
M. Yeah, monosaccharides. I don't know. I failed that one.
Sorry, I was going to be impressed if you got it all, to be honest.
It's a hard one. I've read this like 1,000 times. I mean, I've helped people through navigating the low FODMAP diet,
Mhm.
but I will tell you that it is hard to remember all of these things and keep
Yeah.
them straight.
Yeah. All right. Well, I
Um,
still like you. I still respect you as a person. So
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I will find what FODMAP stands for here in a second, but it
no,
was,
the A is and. The A is
oh,
and
that's
then
that's
polyols.
BS. Oh, and
Polyols.
polyols. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
So I got the oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides,
I'm still
and polyols.
impressed. You got a B
Who puts
plus.
who puts the A in there without it really standing for something? Jeez. It's the
Dr.
bloody
FODMAP does.
Australians. I know. So this this was developed at Monash University, which is in Australia. And basically there's these classifications. So all of those um, saccharides that I just totally jumbled up are basically carbohydrates that the
Mhm.
human body can't process, but your gut bacteria can. What happens with some people is certain classes of those carbohydrates will cause more GI distress. I don't know all of the physiology behind this, but it can result in all kinds of different symptoms: gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, just generally like having GI problems.
Just a real crappy situation.
Oh, Michael. So, if you're feeling crappy, some people will go on a low FODMAP diet. And there's a whole website. You can go to Monash University and look at the low FODMAP food list. I highly, highly encourage you to do this with the help of a practitioner, a dietitian, somebody who knows how to navigate these kinds of things. Because what I see people do is they'll go into I'm eating low FODMAP.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll just adopt it like a lifestyle, like vegetarian, or like,
Right.
I'm just going to eat low FODMAP.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Your little minions in there still need food. So if you're taking every classification of the fermentable, you know, carbohydrates away from your gut bacteria, I mean, there's research that suggests that within 4 days, your gut bacteria is going to change based
Yeah.
on what it's given.
Yeah.
So people will just eliminate all these foods, but they won't take the necessary step of reintroducing those foods
Right.
systematically and seeing what my symptomology is like. And the researchers at Monash University are actually now conducting research on people. They didn't anticipate that people were going to adopt this as like a lifestyle long-term thing. And they're now doing research on the gut colonies of those people who have eliminated all of those FODMAPs. And they're looking at the negative outcomes of
Right.
that.
Right.
So they're like, okay, we created this dietary protocol that was intended to be like a systematic, step by step. You take out these foods and then you reintroduce them and you find out what works for you.
Right.
And
In
now
fact,
they're like, okay.
yeah. I mean, that's step 2 of this process is reintroduce, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just funny. It's like the restriction, the removal is people think, oh, that's the answer. And it's like, no, the removal and restriction is so you can figure out the answer. Like, that's not the answer. It's just figuring out what the problem is. And you only do that by reintroducing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's another one of those situations like the ketogenic diet or gluten free
Right.
or something where
Or
it's
the
poorly understood. Yeah.
carnivore diet, which
Yep.
eliminates all these plant foods.
hmm
Yeah.
And people just jump on it and go, oh, okay, there's my answer. And it's like, yeah, that's not even close to
Right.
how you go through this thing.
Which is another plug for the Middleish concept. So
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of find some balance and take care of your little gut microbiome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you want to hear some foods that are really good we've already talked about some of them, but prebiotic foods. So remember, prebiotics are the carbohydrates that feed your gut bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the fermentable fiber foods. So I bet you guys are already eating some of these foods, but this might give you some new ideas. Berries, peaches, flaxseed, lactose containing foods, cashews, garlic, onions, oats, leeks, legumes, asparagus, mushrooms, cabbage, whole wheat, or any whole grain,
Mm-hmm.
really. artichokes, peas, bananas, resistant starch. So this is something I didn't talk about earlier, but resistant starch is when you cook a carbohydrate food and then you cool it. So that would be like potato salad. So like you cook the potatoes and then you like, make them in this recipe and then you chill it. That will create a resistant starch, which is slower to break down in your body and creates more food for your gut microbiome. So that's kind of a cool one.
So eat more potato salad. That's what I'm
Eat
getting.
more
Which
tater salad.
am 100% fine with. I like a
Another
good
one.
potato salad.
Yeah. So another source of resistant starch is a green or unripe banana. So, as the banana ripens and it starts getting a little brown freckles on its peel, that means it has a little more sugar in it and less resistant starch. But if you eat it green, that's more resistant starch.
Do you ever eat green bananas?
I don't.
Me neither.
I hate green bananas, but I have friends that won't eat them unless they're crunchy. Like they really like that green, but I know. It's
What's
bizarre.
a crunchy banana?
I know.
I think you need some new friends. I am not at all sure you should be associating with these people.
Yeah. Put that on my list of elimination factors. And this friendship is over.
Eliminating friends.
Yeah.
Banana eaters.
And then probiotic foods, which we already talked about some of these: kimchi, sauerkraut, yogurt, olives, pickles.
I do like olives and pickles.
Tempeh, which I don't know if, that's kind of a unusual one. I think for many people, they've never tried tempeh, but it is a fermented soybean product. I find it in the refrigerated section, like in the produce section, kind of where like you'd find tofu and that kind of thing. Really good in stir fries and spring rolls, and there's all kinds of stuff you can do with it. Sourdough bread, hello, which is one of my faves.
Yeah. Did you mention sauerkraut?
I did, but we can mention it again.
Yeah. I missed it, but I like sauerkraut. Sorry.
I don't.
No?
Can we still be friends?
Yeah, but I don't know. We're taking some bumps today. We're going to have to talk through some things.
We'll have to go through mediation after this episode.
Counseling.
Kombucha. Yeah. We're gonna have to work through some of your like poo-poo puns that you keep coming up with and your little punchlines.
Yeah, for sure.
Kombucha is I would say has grown in popularity
big time
over the last like 5-6 years.
Thanks to like millennials, right? That's like been a millennial thing, hasn't it?
Totally.
It's like kombucha's everywhere. Everybody's making their own. It's like, all right, just chill a little bit.
Yeah. So it's a fermented tea that's made with a SCOBY. It's called the mother is called a SCOBY. And that's like what your microbiota is to your body, the SCOBY is to the kombucha. So it's like the main colony that like ferments you add sugar to the tea and then it ferments it. And then you get this little colony that grows in the kombucha. And so some people are like totally grossed out by that. I love kombucha personally. It's tangy, it's effervescent, it's something different than, just drinking like whatever juice or tea or something else. And I actually found it was helpful when I was training so much. I would get just gut disruptions all the time, just from like the training food and like all of the, being bent over in arrow position or doing long runs or whatever have you. And there were times like after a race that I would have such bad indigestion, and kombucha would really help with that. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
there you have it.
Where are we at?
Anything
else that you'd like to add?
I think we about covered everything, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just to wrap up, you guys, this is a really cool topic. I think it's very, science-y. And again, it's kind of fun to think of your little colony of minions down there doing all the, driving the bus. But there's nothing real groundbreaking about how you take care of your body and how you take care of this little gut colony. There's a few little, recommendations with like eat some more of these foods, but it's a lot of the same stuff that you've been hearing for years.
And now you know how to take care of your butt, right?
Go bug health. We got
Bung
that
health.
nailed.
Okay, I think we've settled that as soon as we get merch, like on our coffee cups or whatever, it's just going to say bung health, right?
Okay.
And
People would buy that.
absolutely they would. I'd
Why
buy
wouldn't
3 or
they?
4. Has anybody seen my bung health mug?
Yeah, and then wait until one of your daughters takes that to school or is like on a Zoom meeting and is drinking out of her bung health
I mean, if she wants to
mug.
be the cool kid in class, that's fine.
I guess so.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of selecting friends, I mean, what's your meeting in the mundane this week?
My meat in the mundane. I gotta look this up because I want to say it just right. So this last weekend on Friday night, um, Sophie, who's my 4-year-old, she and I had like her first sleepover, right? So like we've slept in like her room before, like if we've had people staying here, and they stayed in our bed. We don't have a guest room. So, if someone's staying in our bed, like one of us will sleep with one of the girls and the other. So like we've slept in the same room with them, but we never had like this official, like, hey, let's have a sleepover, right? Exciting thing. And so she just recently, she and her sister moved rooms, and Lila got a bigger bed, and Sophie's in the twin bed now, and it has a trundle underneath. So she's like, now we can do sleepovers. So she asked me, so Daddy, can we do a sleepover? And I was like, yeah, sure. So, typically when we do sleepovers with our kids, we do like, we'll watch a movie or something and, have popcorn or a treat or, maybe watch or play in their room, just kind of like we're removed and it's just us. Right. So I asked her what she wanted to do, and she wanted to watch this cartoon called PJ Masks. It's these little kids who become superheroes at night in their pajamas, and it's super cute. And she wanted to watch that and snuggle in bed. So I was like, cool, let's do it. And so like she was just so like giddy the whole time. She was so excited to be doing a sleepover. Like she just couldn't really contain it, and she was just like silly and goofy and laughy just because it's like, oh my God, it's happening, and so she snuggles up kind of like right in the crook of my arm, with her head on my chest, and we're watching PJ Masks on our tablet. And after a few minutes, she pauses the show and she turns and looks up at me. And this is what she says. I'd write this down. She says, Daddy, I want to tell you something. So I paused it because I want to tell you and I want you to hear me. That's why I paused it. I want to say I love you and I love sleepovers.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
man, I about start bawling right there.
Yeah, I know.
It was just,
Jeez.
and then she immediately like turned her head and hit play. For her, it was just like, hey, just want to let you know a thing. But for me, it was like, for her to say like, hey, this is my favorite show. I'm pausing it in the middle of it to let you know something. And I really want you to know what I'm going to say. I really want you to hear it. So like, pay attention. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like I'm letting you know this is something important for me to communicate to you, and then
Oh.
she just like, I love you and I love sleepovers. And it was just like her expressing like, this means a lot to me. Like, this is important that we're doing this. And so it was just one of those moments where it's just like, oh man, whew, it just hit me hard. Yeah.
Oh,
But
that's super cute though that
yeah.
she wanted to make sure that okay, we're connecting here and I have
Mm-hmm.
your undivided attention and you have my undivided attention because this is really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. And she was like, I paused it. Like, I want you to hear, like, this is why I'm doing this. It was like, you need to know that I'm going to say something that I want you to hear. It was
She's
incredibly
going to
cute.
run board meetings in the
I know,
future and
right?
be like, this is important.
Yeah, it was a pretty great moment.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. How about you?
So, as I said, we went to McCall this weekend and Matt's not a fan of winter. Have I said that before? Because
I
it's,
don't know.
yeah,
Maybe 50 minutes ago. I'm not sure.
it's a little known fact. Just kidding. Everybody knows it. And I dragged him out in the afternoon on Saturday to go snowshoeing. It was Bluebird, the lake is frozen, the Ponderosa Park is right around the corner from our
Mm-hmm.
our condo that we rented. And Matt's not a fan of snowshoeing. He's not a fan of winter.
Wait, he
He
doesn't like
just
winter? Matt, right?
we go, yeah. So we kind of go along this trail. And of course, I'm just the whole time, I'm I'm kind of like you described Sophie, like just like giddy, and I love it. And it's so pretty. And isn't this great? And blah, blah, blah. And I know he's like, he's doing it for me, which is really sweet. But we came upon this, we're kind of walking through the trees and it's like later afternoon. So the sun is starting to kind of go down and kind of cast like really dramatic shadows and lighting. And we go through this grove of trees that's like this huge stand of aspens that they're just like these gray, towers with like the black contrasting like nodules where all the branches come out. So it was just this like super contrasty scene. And then you've got the snow, just resting on all of these branches. And it was so beautiful, like this monochromatic with the light. And I knew Matt would love this because he's a photographer, right? And so his brain just sees light and images and these cool scenes. And we walk up to this stand of trees and I just stop and I look at it and he stops and he looks and he goes, okay, that's pretty much the coolest thing I've seen all day. And I was like, so for me, it was, even though it was our moment together, but of course for him, it was like the only thing about that snowshoe that he liked, except for the parking lot beer at the very end. That was the other thing he liked. Yeah. But for me, it was like a nice reminder that even in this activity where he's like, when is it over? And I'm not enjoying this and I don't like it. There's always something to be thankful for or to appreciate out of it, or, just to like take a moment to be like, wow, that's actually really cool. Just that slight shift in energy, I think can be a good lesson to all of us. So for me, even though it kind of happened for him, but I watched it, all unfold. I mean, I was happy the whole time. And so for me, this was like the icing on the cake, but to see him like actually really have that moment of appreciation and like, there's something good to be had in this, horrible trek that my wife just dragged me through.
It's a miserable experience. I like that. Good reminder. Good reminder. All right.
So, until next time, I guess. Thank you all for listening and joining us. Yep. And we've got some fun things in the works. We hope to grow this podcast. So your support is appreciated, whether that's sharing or rating us wherever you listen, watching us on YouTube, or you can be a supporter of this podcast by following the link in the show notes.
Yep. What do they call it? Listener support. And we appreciate, we have 2 supporters right now, which is awesome. Pretty exciting.
Yay.
Yeah. Who's going to be number 3? Who's going to be number 3?
I know. Yeah. Shouldn't we give a shout out?
We should.
To our latest supporters, Christy May.
Christy
Thank you
May.
So much. We love you and we appreciate you. And you've also been very interactive with us on, Facebook and social media stuff. So we
Christy's
love it.
Awesome.
We love our
Christy's
listeners.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Yeah. We hope you enjoyed learning about your gut. See, I didn't do it.
He's got to have one more butt health before we sign off. So have a good week, everyone.